Today we're going to be solving percent problems. Now before we begin, just remember that we're going to be using our knowledge of ratios, proportions, and percent to be able to solve these percent problems. Now most importantly, the ratio that we're going to use are percents out of 100 and then parts out of a whole. And with both, we create a proportion, just like the one we have shown right here in the highlighted box. Okay? Now in order to solve these problems, you have to be able to identify, well, what is the part, what is the whole, and what is the percent. Now, the 100 is always going to be in that part of your proportion, so you're only really looking for 3 numbers to fill in. So let's start off with example 1. In example 1, we have the question, what is 48% of 80? Now, luckily for us, a percent is given to us, 48%. So the first thing that we want to do is use the numbers that are given to us and fill them in. So we have 48%. Another form that might be helpful to us in the future is, all right, well, you know what? I know that 48% is always a fraction out of 100. All right. Also, 80. What is 80? Is it a part or is it a whole? Now, given the context of this question, there's some things that you want to be on the lookout for. Whenever you see the word of, whenever you see the word of, that is a clue as to the fact that the number it's next to is in fact a whole, right? So 80 is the whole, and then 48% of that whole, we're trying to figure out what the part is. So in this case, this is our unknown. The part is what we're going to be searching for in this question. Now with that all being said, now we can go ahead and write down our proportion. Our proportion is going to be, again, part over the whole. So again, I'm just going to write down our ratio for part of a whole. And since we have an unknown, I'm just going to leave this blank, right? I'm going to leave it as a blank because that's what we're searching for. And then I'm going to put that over our whole, which is 80. And then I'm going to make a proportion where it's going to be equal to the percent that we're looking for, which is 48 out of 100. Now, in order for us to solve for that unknown, which is the part, we need to remember one technique, and that is to cross multiply, where we're going to multiply that unknown with 100. So we're going to get 100 times that blank is going to be equal to, then we cross multiply the other two numbers that are diagonal of each other, which is 48 and 80. All right, 48 times 80, right? We want to do 48 times 80. All right, so we have 48 times 80 is equal to 3,840. And now we're trying to find the number that belongs in that blank. Now, in order to get that blank on its own, one thing that you can do is go ahead and divide both sides by 100. Now, you can guess and check, right? Filling in numbers that could possibly be 100 times blank equaling 3,840. But this is a much more efficient way of doing it. And once you get that, you're going to get that the blank is going to be equal to 3,840 divided by 100. That's going to be 38.4. And there we go. We have 38.4 is going to be our part in this problem. In example 2, we have a different kind of problem. Let's go ahead and read it. In example 2, we have 50 is 20% of what number? Okay, so now we have to identify the part, the whole, and the percent. Now, luckily for us, the easiest one to identify happens to be percent, right? Again, we get the percent, 20%, but we'll also use the fact that 20% is always out of 100. It's a fraction out of 100. Now we got to figure out, well, 50, is that a part or is that a whole in our proportion? Now, a clue that's given to you is whenever you see that 50 and is, the word is a key word here that tells us that we're actually going to be looking at a part, right? So 50 is going to be our part, which leaves us, and just like we had in the last problem, our last problem, when we're around the word of, we're talking about a whole. So of what number? Well, we don't know what that number is, but it is our unknown. And that's what we're going to be solving for in this problem. Okay? So let's go ahead and set up our proportion. On the left side, we're going to have our part, which is 50, over our unknown, which is the whole, right? We're going to leave that as a blank. It's going to be equal to 20 over 100. 20 over 100. And so we're going to use that technique of cross multiplication, where I'm going to multiply 50 times 100. So 50 times 100 is equal to the other cross multiplication, 20 times the blank, right? And we want to figure out what is in that blank so we can know what our whole is. So 50 times 100 is going to be 5,000, I'm sorry. Right? So we have 5,000 is equal to 20 times that blank. And if we want to find out what that blank is, again, you can guess and check and plug in numbers to see 20 times whatever number you plug in equals 5,000. Or, to be much more efficient, let's go ahead and divide both sides by 20 so that we see that the blank is going to actually be equal to 250, right? And so now we found that 250 is our unknown whole number. Now, if you wanted to check this out, if you really wanted to check your answer, what you can do is go ahead and put the part over the whole, which in this case it's 50 over 250, and let's go ahead and divide. 50 divided by 250 is going to be equal to 0.2. When you multiply that by 100, that's going to tell us the percent, which is in fact 20%. I hope this helped everyone. Go ahead and rewatch the video if you need to review it, and enjoy.